So the most obvious thing to do would be starting with the network. Getting back to our core code, you remember that we downloaded the zip file from the GitHub project and put it into a silly named folder that gives us plenty of room to expand. And take a look at our larger-than-life icons in our now very familiar PyTrack interface. The first thing we probably would like to do is hack PyTrack 1, or maybe we should just make a PyTrack 2. All right, then, let's go ahead and open up PyTrack 1 and begin to get ready for our 3 modes that we can use to reuse PyTrack 1's logic. Specifically, let's go ahead and do like we've seen before to put our main game loop, even though it's a static method, under a dunder main. And let's go ahead and import the argparse module, much like we just updated Listo today, so as to create an instance of the parser, as we'd expect, and as we see in Listo, simply by using their static member function to create, of course, an argument parser. Very nice factory method there on a static member function in a class definition, so as to give the parameter of a description to equal, I don't know, PyTrack 2020 sounds about right. Then let's go ahead and add a simple argument. Scrolling down a bit here, give us some more real estate. Let's see, let's call the argument, obviously, mode, because we're going to have one of 3 modes, client, server, as well as classic, making the default classic. And then once we have classic, of course, let's go ahead and validate our supported type simply for the fish or for the halibut. Then we'll set the name of the destination for this argument to be set in a dictionary name called mode, or a tag if you would, and we'll set our default mode to be the first one in our list. Not too much of a presumption on rationality there. And then we'll simply use an F string to give the help to show what's ever in our modes. Of course, that allows us to put many other modes in there, because what we're missing at the moment is an admin and a test mode, which of course we'll be updating sooner or later, probably after we weaponize our dunder main, so as to make it an official main that we can use to officially incorporate this feature into possibly a PyTrack 2. Maybe we'll keep PyTrack 1. It's trivial. It's not important. Certainly not as important as validating our supported types, as we see here. The last thing we need to do, as also demonstrated in Listo this morning, would be to parse our arguments from our instance of the parser, and then use vars to convert our namespace as returned from parser into a dictionary. And of course, once we have a dictionary, as we've also seen with main loop, we could take the contents of args so as to pass it off to our main loop. This time we're going to simply say quargs, and we'll override quargs, I think, probably simply by checking to see if client was defined in quargs. Otherwise, I suppose we'll print that we're in the client mode and get out of there, because we don't have a client mode yet. And if we have a server, of course, we do something similar. Say we're the server mode and get out of there, and that's pretty much it, I think, to tell you the truth, to run our program. And unlike piracy, the unwritten law of coding is to do no harm. In this case, we're going to make sure that whenever we run main, we're going to have the classic mode. And of course, classic mode will simply be to ignore anything new that we're doing. Once again, client, server, test, progression test, whatever, we'll have those later on. And if we're there, we will definitely put together an abstraction for both our server and our client and our test, everything else, that will allow everything to have a run method, in which case, obviously, we'll just create whatever we need there before simply going with the run. Verifying that everything works as we expect, we simply run the command and see that beautiful idle interface before quitting the game and seeing the best message ever. Once again, I didn't plan it this way. I think fortune favors the geeky here. Korebashi Maru, got the Python for you. Anyways, enough of my alien dialogue. Not a bad start. So making things a little bit more verbose, an opportunity here is to say if Z-type is not in mode, in other words, maybe we have the test or the admin mode, then we'll simply report an error before quitting or bailing out our application. Running our application, we'll now quit our program and changing things back to the way we want it, of course. We do have a default mode. We start pretty much as we've just seen. So here's a mission everybody should be able to get into simply because everybody sooner or later is going to want to add a command line interface. And yes, I do have training up on Udemy, my DevOps training specifically, which shows you how to use argparse if you need a little bit of help. But because it is so important, I'm going to challenge you to an activity to make it so. Go ahead, open up your local version of Hackatrack and use my example or my code specifically so as to get ready to add one of our initial 3 modes, either the classic, client, or server, to your code.